Hey, we are less than 2 weeks away from a brand new series of Doctor Who, Series 10. So, as I promised in a previous video, here are my 10 things that I would like to see in Series 10. Number 1, I would like to see the Doctor be a bit more serious again. I thought he was brilliant in Series 8. When Peter Capaldi debuted, he was this brilliant mixture of neurosis, because he was unsure whether or not he was a good man. He was frankly quite rude to Clara quite a lot of the times. It was a nice contrast between that and what we'd had with Matt Smith and Matt Smith's zany craziness, which, don't get me wrong, I loved, but we'd had several years of it, and it was nice to get a bit of a change, a bit of a slightly darker Doctor in many ways. And that was brilliant in Series 8. I loved that. And then in Series 9, something happened, and he went a bit silly. He, started playing electric guitar on tanks and wearing sonic shades and being a bit more zany and kind of acting like he was imitating Matt Smith in some ways, which I don't think worked. I mean, he'd been brilliant in Series 8, and don't get me wrong, there were some quality moments in Series 9 where he does get more serious, but it's mixed in with all that zaniness, and it was like he was trying to do, or he'd been directed to be like that. I'm sure it's not Peter Capaldi's fault. It was like he, that they decided that behind the scenes that they needed that kind of crazy, kooky Doctor. But you don't always need that. It's great some of the time, but it's not great all of the time. So I really want to see a return to a sort of more grounded, more gritty, slightly more grumpy, in many ways, Peter Capaldi. That's not to say he hasn't evolved from his time, but I would like to think of that time. That whole of the last season was basically he had received the confession dial. I like to think of it as a bit of a mid-regeneration crisis. He was halfway through his regeneration and he got this thing and it had freaked him out a bit and he went a bit off the rails. But now that's all been and done, and he can just go back to being sort of, not necessarily as grumpy and as mean as he was right at the very start of Series 8, but a bit more of an edge to him. And I think there's something that's going to be introduced in this series that can really help that. And now I know Nardole is very divisive. I know that. I know a lot of people don't like him. Personally, I didn't like him in The Husbands of River Song. I thought he was annoying. But I did quite like him in The Return of Dr. Mysterio. And I think he can be the thing that allows Doctor Who to still have a bit of comic relief without it coming from the Doctor, without it being that zaniness that comes from the Doctor. He can be there to do the comic relief stuff, and that will leave the Doctor free to be the hero and the serious, slightly more serious one. And I'd like to see that. That's what I would like to see. That's how I would like to see Nardole used in this coming series. Number 2 is quite related. Please get rid of the sonic shades. They annoy me. I was cheered when they got stamped on and broken in one episode last season, and then they were back the next episode. And the look of disappointment on my face as I saw that was immense. Please get rid of the sonic shades. Yes, I know we've seen him wearing them in the trailer, so chances are I'm not going to get my wish on this. But I'm hoping that that's just a little momentary sort of nod to the last series. That maybe he sees some sunglasses on the side of somewhere and picks them up going, oh, I used to have a pair of shades like this, but mine was sonic, and he wears them for a bit. But one episode and done. That's what I would like to see. And they're not sonic. You don't need a sonic shades anymore. You got your sonic screwdriver back. So much better. Number 3. More Gallifrey, please. Look, the Doctor's found his home planet again after, from his perspective, what must be thousands of years. Billions if you count his time in the confession dial. You'd think you want to spend a bit of time there. And yes, I know it's not his favourite place in the universe. That's obviously Earth. But I still think he'd, check in every once in a while. Plus, from our perspective, things in Gallifrey were left a bit up in the air. We don't know what the situation is there. Rassilon has gone into exile, probably plotting his revenge against the Doctor. But we don't know what the political situation is there. We don't know what they're going to do now they've been rediscovered. Are they going to start interfering? Personally, what I would like to see is them deciding something where they decide, maybe because of another incident that happens, maybe, I don't know, but they decide not to interfere anymore. That would give a nice out for lots of stories involving time travel without going, well, why aren't the Time Lords coming in and fixing this? Number 4, the return of a classic series companion for an episode as a guest would be good. Which ones we could have? Well, we've had Sarah Jane, obviously, and before, and we've had Jo Grant in an episode of Sarah Jane Adventures. She turned up and met Matt Smith's Doctor. So maybe you can run into someone else, or maybe it doesn't even have to run into an old Earth companion. Maybe we could finally find out what happened to Susan. Did she get called back to Gallifrey? Presumably, because, you know, he wouldn't be going on about him being the last of his kind if he knew Susan was in 23rd century Earth with her husband that she hooked up with at the end of Dalek Invasion of Earth. He'd have gone and found her if he was the last of his kind, but he knew his granddaughter was out there. So presumably she got called back to Gallifrey. Is she still on Gallifrey? Who knows? Maybe she died. Maybe they could deal with that. I don't know. But I'd like to see some kind of resolution. Find out why, you know, he'd want to find. If she was alive, he would want to go out and find her, surely. It's his granddaughter. Yeah, let's get Susan back in it. I'm sure Carol Ann Ford would be up for it. Number 5 is a big ask. Because I would like them, if Class doesn't get renewed for a second series, to tie up the loose ends of Class. It was left on a pretty big cliffhanger, and I would like to see some resolution to that. And if it's not going to happen in another season of Class, I'd like to see it in a Doctor Who episode. Now, chances are that they had planned all of season 10 before any decision was made on Class getting renewed or not. So the chances of that coming in series 10, unless it was already pre-planned to be one and done with Class, very very unlikely. So I'd like it in season 10, but if not, I'm happy for it to come in season 11. But I'd really prefer that. I really prefer the roundup of that. You know, I definitely need some kind of resolution to that. I'd prefer it to come in an episode of Doctor Who than in a comic or a novel or something, but I'll take what I can get, I suppose. Number 6, back to returning characters. I quite like to see Jenny come back, the Doctor's genetic daughter from The Doctor's Daughter. I've wanted her to come back ever since she left. Ever since that one episode she was in, I've wanted her to return. I thought they would have done it by now, you know. I know the Doctor doesn't know she exists. He thinks she's dead. But it probably would have been a stronger storyline had it happened before he knew the Time Lords were still alive. But I think, you know, when you've got a genetic daughter out there, that's just, there's got to be more in that. And I'd really like Georgina Moffat to return as well. Number 7, I don't want Bill to depart at the end of this series. I want her to stay over into the Chris Chibnall years. I don't like one and done companions, one season and they're out. I think it's too short a time to really get to know a companion. I think, and I don't really hold with the arguments that Chris Chibnall needs a completely fresh slate, because I don't think he does. And I really didn't like that when Stephen Moffat did it. Literally everything changed at once, and it bugged me at the time. You know, keep a few elements over. By all means, put your own stamp on it in many ways, but there were some things I think should carry over between showrunners, just to create an air of continuity so it doesn't feel like a completely different show. On that topic, number 8, other things I would like to see carry over from the, I suppose this is really a Series 11 wish list item, but I'm going to stick it in here anyway. Things I would like to see carry over to the following season. The logo. I don't want that to change again. I think they've got it nailed now. I was never really sure about the Russell T Davies series logo, so I was actually quite pleased with that. Was one thing that changed in the new when it went over to Moffat, but I'd like it to stay the same now. What else was there? The TARDIS interior. I think this is the best TARDIS interior we have ever had, and I do really like the 8th Doctor one from the TV movie. That's pretty damn good too. But those two are fairly equal. But we're not going to go back to that. So, out of all the other ones, the white ones or the ones from the other ones from the new series, I definitely think this is the best they've had. And I think they should keep it. By all means, tweak it, much like they did in the classic series. You know, you had the basic white look of the console room, and then there were tweaks. You know, columns might appear, white columns, or the rounders might slightly change their style. But essentially, it was the same design with tweaks for the majority of the run, apart from that little period where Tom Baker went into his wooden clad room. But other than that, it's pretty much was the same throughout the whole classic series. And I think they need to do something like that. And they started it already, you know, when Matt Smith first changed to that sort of style console room, it was slightly different, and then they tweaked it by adding the bookshelves and more, you know, items around and things on shelves and things, which was really good when Peter Capaldi took over. So yeah, I'd like to keep that general blue, the layout of the room, the style of the console itself. I'd like to keep all of that to keep the same, and then they can just tweak the accessories for the personality of the Doctor. So yeah, logo, companion, and TARDIS interior are the three things I really want to stay the same. But the rest, I'm happy for Chris Chibnall to come in and change. Not that my views count for much, but this is my wish list, so that's what I'm wishing. Number 9, Goodbye Nardole. I would like to see him go out in the season finale. Like I said, I didn't mind him. I quite liked him in Return of Dr. Mysterio, and I think he could play an important part in allowing Peter Capaldi's Doctor to be a bit more serious this time around. He can be the comic relief. I think he therefore could be very important to keep around for this series, and I don't have any problems, like a lot of people do, with him being in Series 10 and being a companion for Series 10. However, I think with that kind of comic relief character, he will get old very quickly, and that's the type of companion you can just have a one and done season with. So I'd like to see him go, and I'd like to see him have a decent end, a wrap up at the end of the season, rather than just going, okay, I'm not going to travel with you anymore, bye. That would be a bit boring. I want to see an interesting storyline. What that is, I don't know. Maybe he could die. Maybe he could be the first new Who companion to die and stay dead. That's the important part. Stay dead. Yeah. So I'd like him to stay for the whole season and then go. And finally, number 10, how I would like to see the regeneration go down. So here's my vision of one way it could go. It's just my wish. This is just how I've imagined it could happen, which would be quite interesting and a little bit different. I think he gets killed in the season 10 finale. Yeah, I know, he's meant to be in the Christmas special, and I'll come to that in a second. But we know he's facing off with the Cybermen in the season 10 finale. We also know Missy's going to be in the episode, so I'm predicting, possibly, that he has teamed up with Missy reluctantly to defeat the Cybermen. She has this previous experience with the Cybermen, she might know some of their weaknesses. I don't know, but I'm foreseeing an uneasy alliance, sort of what we got in the Dalek episode, a bit. And I think they successfully defeat them. I think at the end of the episode, the Doctor is standing over the Dalek, the Cyber Leader, Cyber Leader, standing over the Cyber Leader, you know, giving one of his rousing speeches about how war and violence is not needed and all that sort of stuff. And then I think he gets shot from behind by Missy with a laser beam or something. Why is she shot him when she's teamed up with him for the rest of the episode? Well, because it's Missy, and because she's a little bit bored. That's it. She's bored of that version of the Doctor, and she wants to see what comes next. So she shoots him. Out of the blue, out of nowhere. Just 1 minute you think he's won, and you think he's going to be in the Christmas special, and then the next minute he's shot. And he starts to regenerate. Then we get a to be continued. Now the Christmas special starts then, after that, with the Doctor landing in the TARDIS in no companions, in a slightly odd place, maybe another planet, I don't know, but something's not quite right, and the kind of world that he's in seems a bit sort of a tamer version of a David Lynchian film in many ways. There's weird things that happen in a disjointed kind of way, and everything's a bit weird, but he can't quite get his head around it, and there's a mystery to be solved. And that is the main plot of the episode. So he obviously goes ahead and solves the mystery. What that is, I'm not fussed, but you know, let's hope it would be good. And then it turns out at the very end, once he solved the mystery, that this is all in his head. This whole episode has taken place in the split seconds while he's regenerating. and it's still in his head. It's kind of like his, and this is something Stephen Moffat might do because it's a thing he's used in Sherlock. He might be in his mind palace, as the term is used on Sherlock. He's just frozen time in his own mind to work out something. But that something will come into the plot later on, because he regenerates at the very end of the episode. He sort of realizes he's in this mind palace, which he hadn't before, and snaps out of it, finishes regenerating, and then the new guy goes, I've just realised something. We have to go now. And then they rush, grabs Bill, rushes off to the TARDIS. And that can be off to the next adventures, off to Chris Chibnall world, and that can be the season arc. Whatever he's worked out in his head during this mystery in his head, that's where they need to go for the next season. That would require the cooperation of Chibnall for that, though, to sort of okay that they're setting up that. But I think that would be a really interesting way and a different way to do it. So that's my hope. That's my hope for the regeneration. Or, if not exactly that, something verging on that. I think it's a good way to have him unexpectedly get killed in the season finale, even though we were expecting him to get killed at the end of the Christmas special. So that's it. That's my list. That's my 10 things I would like to see in season 10 / series 10, however you want to refer to it, of New Who. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the new series when it starts on the 14th of April in the UK. Not sure when it's on in America or anywhere else in the world, but hopefully you'll get it, if not the same day, pretty soon afterwards. Anyway, I'll see you. Please like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff for more Doctor Who content I'll be bringing you, as well as other pop culture things. I do things on books, on TV, on film, and of course my Festivity 365 challenge. My Festivity 365 challenge. I can't speak. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.